Hello, everyone. My name is Christine, and I'm the host here at the Hungarian Heritage podcast, the show where we connect your modern life to your Hungarian heritage by building bridges and connecting the circles of Hungarians around us. This podcast is a place where everyone is welcome, where you don't even need to be Hungarian or speak Hungarian to join in on the fun. Each week, we will talk about all the things that we love about Hungary and Hungarian people. So, if you're looking to make that first connection to your Hungarian heritage, or you're looking to dive deeper, then this is the place to be. Thanks for joining us today. On this episode of the Hungarian Heritage podcast, we will be talking with Geri Borbely, a Hungarian who grew up on his family's winery in Hungary, learning and working on the family's vineyard in all of the stages of winemaking, from the grape on the vine to the wine in the bottle, and then using his experience to attain his degree in wines and spirits. We will also be talking with Geri's wife and business partner, Mariona Alabau, who grew up in the mountains of the Pyrenees in Spain and has degrees in environmental science and biodiversity. We will talk all about their story, how they met, their experiences and expertise with wine and diving, and how they married all of these things together and created Elix Sea Underwater winery in Costa Brava, Spain. And when I usually say, are you looking to dive a little deeper? On this episode, I mean that literally. Welcome, Geri and Mariona. Thank you for being here today on the Hungarian Heritage podcast. I appreciate you taking the time. So before we get started, Geri and Mariona, your company, Elix Sea, located off Costa Brava in Spain. You age wine bottles under the sea. You offer wine tastings out on the boat, and I believe on land too by arrangement. And you also offer diving experiences. But before we dive in to talking about Elix Sea and your underwater winery business, I think it's important to talk about how both of your backgrounds have influenced and contributed to Elix Sea, because it's really a combination of both of those things for both of you. So between Geri's Hungarian heritage and your family wineries experience, Mariona, your environmental and biodiversity expertise, and both of your love of diving and how you met, I think all of those are contributors to this amazing company that you have. So I guess let's start with Geri and your Hungarian heritage and how that influenced you for your current business.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in the northwest of Hungary in a very small wine region. And my family has a very small winery. I think we're the fifth generation who's working on the same plots and making wine. So winemaking, starting from the harvest, has been a part of my childhood. So since I was very little, I was helping on the harvest and then helping washing the barrels. Later on, I got to try the wines as well, but it was like years and years later. So I didn't really understand that part when we were pressing the grapes, and I can drink as much as I want, but after a couple of weeks, a couple of months, I'm not allowed to drink it anymore. So the first question mark in my head. So what it has to do, like how does the grape evolve into in a way that at some point I'm just not allowed to drink it. So, yeah. But apart from that,
or at least not your parents not knowing that you were drinking it, right?
Apart from that, I was always interested in wine. So during the university, I studied business and marketing, but mostly catering and hotel management. And in that part, I was always more interested in the beverages and in the wine. So I worked a lot as a sommelier in different restaurants, also in different countries. But then when my diving passion started and my diving hobby came, it was just an escape from reality, because I just really needed some change around me.
Right.
So I traveled to Southeast Asia, and then my diving career led me to Mariona. And then together we decided to do something together, and that led me back to the wines. So It's from the very beginning.
Yeah. So basically from birth, you've been involved and everything's contributed to what you're currently doing right now, which is pretty amazing. Can you dive in the Balaton? I don't know. Is it possible?
In Balaton, no, but there are actually a couple of lakes where you can. It's obviously not the same experience as, for example, here in Costa Brava, but it was a great start and I enjoyed it a lot.
That's great. So Mariona, tell us a little bit about your background, because your environmental and biodiversity expertise is also a huge contributor to this experience.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So it's a little bit funny that is like same as Geri and me. It's like both of us were born far away from the sea. So actually, I was born in the mountains between Spain and France at the altitude of 1,200 meters.
Wow.
So I don't know, it's like since I was a little kid, I like it, nature and environment. And it's like people ask me like, but why? It's like, I don't know why. Why you like chocolate? Because you like it.
Right.
You cannot explain. It's something that you wake up and you do it with joy. So it doesn't mean you an effort. Right. And then kind of the same, because when, of course, you finish university with a lot of joy and enthusiasm, but on that time was like a little bit of economical crisis here in Spain. So, okay. And I started moving and working with different projects, like, for example, with littoral ecosystems, fishermen, marine turtles. Always I tried to go as close as I could with the sea, as well as some things with flora, but all around the world. And yeah, I mean, always I wanted to work with something like related with marine science, but that at the end you can be a little bit more autonomous, not that you are relying on fundings of the government, or you must protect something, but you rely on money of something giving it to you. Right. I always wanted to make something that makes sense. So a little bit, that was the idea, to mix it with the wines.
Well, that's great. And, it's, I think you're lucky, when the saying, when you find something you love, you don't feel like you're actually working. So, which is pretty amazing, So, okay. So you guys met through diving, right? So tell us a little bit about that and how the idea of ElixSea was born.
Okay, so back to our meeting. So there was a very long line of coincidences, but I don't really believe in coincidence. So it was a path that that led us to each other, because Mariona has been traveling to Costa Rica, to all these like far places, like far away from Spain. Me mostly in the Southeast Asian region, and then at the end we met in Spain, in Costa Brava. Because it's a long story. Like I started diving with my friend, and then a job and a reunion with a friend led me back here for a season. And this is where I met Mariona, and we were working at the same dive center, or you were doing your dive master instructor.
No, I was doing like practices, because I was working during the weekdays, and then the weekends I was working as well, but something different, like diving.
Well, somehow you magically met, and you've put both of your life experiences together. So I guess let's, move in or dive in to talking about ElixSea, because it's really more than just wine underwater. There's so many more facets to it. One of the things is marine aging. So can you tell us a little bit about marine aging and how does that improve the wine? Does it improve the wine?
Yes. So at the very beginning, we were just very curious, because both of us, we love wine and diving. So we had to try one of these shipwreck wines that has been recovered from one of the sunken wrecks in the Atlantic or somewhere else. But yeah, those were only for a selected few who could bid high as $10,000-$15,000, but we had to try it. So it started as an experiment. We didn't know if it's going to turn the wine into something better or it's going to evolve. So it started as an experiment, but quickly we found out that actually the evolution that the wine goes through on the water is fascinating. And we took our first samples to some of the most famous winemakers in the most famous wine region of Spain, for me at least, Priorat, where we did some comparative tasting with them. And they said yes, guys, you are onto something big. Wow. And actually, this guy said straight away that he would like to be part of this crusade. And he filled up the Opel trunk.
The back of the car.
We went with a small car, and then he said okay, so can we start experimenting with different wines as well? And we said, wow. Yes, of course.
That's great.
So basically, he kept the boxes coming until the car was full.
Wow.
I wish we had a bigger car, but yeah, it was a sufficient amount to start experimenting with different wines and to learn more about this process.
Especially where starting, it was whites, reds. So we were doing is a little bit like a planning. So we're having samples that we're taking out of the sea at 3, 6, 9, 12 months. Okay. And then after a year, we're doing a massive comparative wine tasting, and we can compare these 4 timings with the terrestrial one. And then it's
right
where we see the difference. Geri is going to be happy to explain about the tannins, acidity. So all these are some things that are changing.
Yeah. So it seems that, you had to do a lot of experimenting beforehand with the different types of wines, which works best, the length of time that it's under the sea. So before you talk about like the wine composition itself, tell me, is it like the currents that change the wine, or what do you think that it is that about being under the water that makes it improve?
So there are multiple theories, but if we want to break it down to the very basics, is the storing conditions underwater are very similar to the storing conditions in a winery. You need to seal the bottles, obviously, to make sure that the water doesn't enter. So there is no salt water, which would obviously change the taste of it. For the worst. Yeah. So there is a seal on the bottle, so the water doesn't enter. The temperature is constant because at this depth there is a thermocline where the water temperature doesn't go below around 15 degrees and doesn't go higher than 18, 19 degrees. So constant temperature is given. Silence, which is essential for the evolution of the wines and which is present in a winery, we also have it underwater. So there's no kids running around screaming and these kind of things.
Dogs barking. Yeah.
So it's silence as well.
Yeah.
And also there is darkness because the light that gets to this depth is filtered through the column of water. And also after just a couple of days or a couple of weeks, there is a thin layer of sediment on the bottles. Works like a blanket. So it just tucks the wines in and they are ready for aging. What's different though, apart from the octopus and all the marine creatures that are around our bottles, but you can't find them in a winery, is the constant motion. Wow. So if you see bigger waves on the surface, you can also feel them at a certain depth. You can also feel the surge as the water moves. Plus, because we're talking about the sea, there is constant current. Either is a little bit, either there's a lot, but it's coming from one direction or the other. Also, as the moon is circling around the earth, that brings the tides and takes them back. So for me, it was very interesting I was in contact with the guys who are responsible for taking 2 cases of French wine to space. Oh. And the result of their experience was very similar to ours. So the wine was aging faster, 3 or 4 times faster. And they said it's because the microgravity is playing a major role in this. Obviously, those bottles were selling for just above $1 million. Yeah. And it's a different market and it's a different price range. So
definitely a specific price range for wine from space. But I imagine with, how the world is going, I'm sure more often there will be those opportunities from space, but at least underwater, there's definitely more opportunities, which is good for you guys. So before we talk about the different types of wine that you use or work best, how do you put them underwater? Like, what do you have special compartments? Like, what is it that you use to put them underwater?
Okay, it's all new logistics, and this is like in the beginning we thought or everybody thinks like you just throw the bottles in the sea, and it's not like this. So. You have wine cages, and it depends. So if you want to have more marine colonization, you really need to place them in special ways. And usually we do that on the winery. So after sealing one by one the bottles, we place them, of course, same horizontally. Right. And then they need to be transported with a lot of care, please, to the harbor. And if bottle broken, it's all like an expedition of it. And then they're in the harbor, they are loaded on a boat. And then from the boat, you have, commercial divers with this kind of special, they look like astronauts. From the boat with a crate, they take the cages down. Okay. So each cage contains between 400 and 600 bottles, depends on the size of each bottle. So they are, pretty heavy, around 800 kilos. Wow. And so many people has asked, do you have any people trying to steal your bottles? So no, you cannot, because the bottles are inside of a cage. So then you need to steal the entire cage, and it's 800 kilos. So you need to go with a boat.
It would be a big endeavor to steal them, I imagine.
No,
it's about protection from laboratory, but from natural disasters such as thunderstorms or too strong currents. That's a different sort of environmental protection. The geography of the place.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. That took a lot of work to get this started, and a lot of logistics just to get a bottle under the water, which is pretty amazing. What type of wines have you found so far have worked best for you? And I'm sure you're still in the experimenting stage as well. So it's not like you're ruling anybody out. What are your findings in that area?
Yeah, so at the beginning, so when we were still on the way to find the logistics and find a final place for the wines and things, it took us about 2 years to get everything in line and make everything smooth. And yes, during these 2 years, we have experienced with at least 70 or 80 different types of wines. From wines that, for example, we got as an experimental help, basically from the winemaker himself. And also we went to the supermarkets and found some monovarietals, some things that we liked, and some things that we thought that it would have potential later on. But yeah, we found that about 80% of these wines were not evolving well. And in fact, they were going against this whole thing. So they didn't turn out better. They actually became more closed, and we enjoyed the original wines a lot more. So then you can't justify to do a process which is not helping the wine to evolve. So yes, after these many experiments, we only had just a handful of different types of wines, which we found that the higher the quality, the better the results. So
makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So actually, for our first year on the market, we stick to the wines of Priorat, which are well known in Europe, and actually they are exporting a lot to all continents and all countries as well. And they are heavy red wines mostly.
Right.
I mean, Priorat is mostly red, and they are very, very tanniny and actually very high in alcohol as well. So starting from 14 degrees. And there are, of course, a lot more different criterias that the wine needs to match or needs to meet. But there are many different wines that actually just turned out great, and we haven't tried it before. So we keep continuing this experiment, and every year we're thinking about 20 to 30 different wines, like twice a year, to experiment more. Different wineries, different styles.
Right. So in addition to actually syncing wines that work, you're also continually experimenting with new wines as well, which is amazing. Let's jump over to the blue economy, which you talk about on your website, because yes, you're syncing wines and you're creating this amazing product, but you're also helping the underwater environment as well. So can you talk a little bit about that and tell us, how that helps the underwater biodiversity of all those living creatures?
Of course, I mean, this concept, blue economy, it's something it's very similar than sustainability, but understanding in a way that is you can use the resources of nature in an intelligent or in a smart way. So of course, you cannot have an underwater winery in the middle of a coral reef. Come on.
Right,
you cannot.
Right, exactly.
When you are placing in a place, it's basically are spaces that are sand or silt patch. So it's muddy or sand. Of course, there is life, but it's very microscopic life on the sand. So let's say that there is not much complex ecosystem. Let's imagine that it's a Sahara desert.
Okay.
And there you place there in the middle, the wine cages. So it's you create a forest, like a palm tree. Then what it turns is it's a claiming effect. So whatever it's from the little fish, octopus or shrimp, any animal is wow, before was nothing and now there is something. So I can find a place to shelter, to protect. And the animals, they protect, of course, from thunderstorm and as well from other predators. Wow. What happens later as well is of course, they start reproducing and you help to increase life. But then something that's not my sentence, I listened from my favorite biologist of Costa Brava. He said that the square meter under the sea, non-colonized, is more expensive than the square meter in New York. In the sea, people say there is a lot of ocean, can be a lot of life. Oh. Yes and not. So for example, we are so happy that we can protect the structures indeed are working as a place to colonize marine life. But what is more important is whatever species they want to grow, the basic ones, not only corals, sponges, acidias, seaweed, whatever, they need a substrate, a rock or something. And of course, everything has been colonized for millions of years. So now imagine that you put a cage that is 1 cubic meter, but inside has so many spaces because there are 500 bottles. Right. So each bottle is a new opportunity to grow on different animals. So what they are doing is capturing carbon dioxide.
Oh, wow.
So what you're doing is like you are providing a surface for colonizer, usually are animals that they don't live longer than 6 months. So it's like it's capturing carbon, and as well it's like good for growing the ecosystem and the basic for other animals.
Wow.
And as well, like our big goal is on that as well, like work with permanent structures around the wine cages. But then of course we found like so many eggs of cuttlefish, mini octopus. So we want to provide like a permanent place for them. So that's why we're having like these external structures, like called like biorocks, and then they can like be living there. So
that's pretty amazing. That's pretty amazing. So you're really contributing to the underwater life as well, and its continuance and growth, in addition to providing amazing wine. That's pretty amazing that you've connected all that together. So let's talk about your company, Elix Sea. Tell me about the experiences you offer, the diving experiences, purchasing wine, or just wine tastings. Tell us the things that you offer.
So just like in every normal or any surface winery, we're not just trying to provide the same aging or storing conditions, but we would like to show this to others, to show it to people who are interested in what we do. But obviously we cannot really do like wine tasting tours in between the cages, because it's very difficult to drink a glass of wine underwater. So
sure.
Yeah, we tried it. That's not happening. So what we came up with is an idea to take the wine tasting people to just above the place. But then it's not necessarily, so it's not a requirement to have the wine cages just underneath the boat, because we can just take the bottles there and enjoy a glass of underwater aged wine on the surface, on a sailing boat, on a catamaran, on a yacht, or you name it. If it floats and we can drink wine on it, we do that. So we started on that line. And of course, for us from the very beginning, the most interesting or the most exciting part was when we dove down to find the bottles. And of course, we wanted to share this first with our friends, but it turns out that there are more people interested in trying this. So we introduced the treasure hunting experiment, which is for certified divers and also for non-certified divers, because we're both scuba diving instructors. Okay. So we can take them to that place where we're aging the wines, or to another place where we have like sort of like a model cage with just a couple of bottles, so they can go there, find the cage, and recover their own bottle of wine. So this is something that we felt it was very interesting, or one of the highlights of what we do. And yes, we introduced it. And also the wine tastings, because they are not just regular wine tastings. So we tell the story of the wines and we just drink a couple of glasses. But we take the people, our guests, back to the very beginnings. When we recovered the wine, we extracted it from the sea and we tasted it alongside its original counterpart, the control wine, which hasn't been aged underwater. Because usually this is the first question of everybody, like, does it really change, or this is some sort of like a marketing thing that to sell these wines? And then you look, the answer is in these two wine glasses. And we get the same exact wine. One has been aged underwater, the other one hasn't. And yes, I mean, 95% of the people even prefers the underwater wine. And the difference is obvious for everybody.
Wow, that's pretty cool. It's good that you put them next to each other, because it definitely avoids people questioning you about it. And I think one of the most amazing things, when you look on your website, the bottles themselves have interesting marine life attached to it when it comes up. And when you sell it, it also has that as well. So tell us, what are some of the things that stay attached to these bottles?
It's unique because it's Mother Nature. So we are never going to feel like, we want the bottle like this. No, it's Mother Nature judging. And as well, we got like some years that people say like, oh, I want more of this. And this is like, no, it's like, I don't know. It's like wine. You harvest the wine. It was a dry year. So it was good or not for the grapes. So it's something that happens. And like the white things that the people sees on the bottles, everybody's like, oh, that's corals. And it's like, no, I love that the coral will be growing at that speed. But these are actually worms, like carnival worms.
Right. Okay.
Like they have like blue feathers. They're very nice. And what they do is like they live like 3-4 months and they grow super fast. They grow like these calcarean skeletons around the bottle. And that's it. And then every year is different. For example, if we're like deeper at 30 meters, then we have more like little sponges or like more like kind of looking like seaweed. So everyone is different.
Yeah, so the more dusty looking, some colorful powder looking thing, they are the sponges. And these white coral looking creatures are the ones which are actually cleaning and filtering the water as well. And just like Mariona said, these are like fingerprints. So we don't have two bottles that are looking the same.
Yeah,
so every single year there is different colonization, different marine life, and every single bottle is completely unique and different.
I think it's amazing. It's pretty unique. It would make a great gift because like every gift is unique. There was one thing that I noticed, that you have this experience of drinking wine and also eating sea urchins. What's the connection with that?
This is very local, and actually I'm very proud because although I'm not from that area, it comes from an area it's called Lampurdà or Costa Brava. It's like the north part of Mediterranean. And they were the first eating like the sea urchins. Like before, nobody was like more into mussels, oysters, but now actually they are doing a very good campaign. Everybody in Asia is well eating that. And that was the only seafood that was perfectly paired with red wine. So that was an activity that was like for us is like eating like seafood on land. It's great. But if you can eat the seafood on a boat with underwater wine, then it's, I don't know. What was your first thought as Hungarian?
Was an interesting combination because I never thought about eating a sea urchin, especially eating it raw. But then once we came up with the idea to make wine tastings on a boat, then of course we wanted to serve some food as well. And just the regular cheese and hamon, we're in the sea, so something needs to come from the sea apart from the wine.
Sure.
And then our captain John, he said like, but guys, we're doing las garoinas, the sea urchins. And it's like, okay, now we're talking about something. Let's give it a try. And actually, it was a huge success. The people are drinking something that wine. Everybody is most people drink wine, but something coming from underwater paired with something that they never heard of, like it's edible or something. And it's amazing. So the pairing, this whole gastronomical experience is something very unique.
Yeah, it is. I'm not a huge seafood eater, but I would definitely be interested in trying that. Maybe it would open up my my palate a little bit more to trying that. Tell everyone how they can find you. Like, how do they arrange an experience with you?
So first we thought that we're going to organize monthly or every second month, we're going to organize a tasting. But it came with a lot of work and to find the people to advertise these events. And then we thought, okay, we're a bit more busy than this. And then we still kept doing a couple of events. But once we did the first sailing boat event, it was a surprise because just after finishing the event, people came to us and said like, oh my God, this was something so good that I'm going to recommend this to my friends. And with my family, we were like, when are you doing the next tasting? We're like, we don't really know because, okay, we have one person here or one there. But they said like, no, I would like to bring a group. Like, okay, so you tell us the date. So this is how we came up with the idea of just doing a customized tasting. So we have a small group already. Okay, fantastic. We booked the boat. We just put the event's dates on our website, and then whoever wants can join.
Yeah.
And this is how we started with. So basically, word of mouth. Yeah. I think.
Mouth to mouth.
Yeah.
And as well as we're very happy now because it's like so many companies and agents. And actually, in the beginning, we're doing that in Costa Brava in Barcelona. But now as well, like we can expand as well to Ibiza or to southern part of Mediterranean. So now we have like companies like. Guys, I like to implement that. So we are now like co-working with companies and trying to expand like these events. So whoever is interested can go to our website. We have the contact form and we can check it out. Like
I think people are always looking for unique experiences like that. You know, something different than maybe other people have done and with enjoying wine. So I'm happy to hear that you're expanding just out of your area as well and into different areas and offering these experiences, which is pretty cool. So have you had any like funny or memorable experiences or moments when you're out on the boat or underwater? or any that are safe to?
Okay. I mean, now it's so funny, but it was not on that time.
It was not.
When we started, it was 2017. And as Geri explained, like small, like 50, 100-hour experiments until we figured out like, these are the wines that we want.
Right.
And we were asking a bigger loan to the family and to the bank. Right. So we placed all our money in cages under the sea. And after 5 weeks, we're so happy, just waiting for them to age.
Right.
And once every 10 years, it comes a big thunderstorm, usually Mediterranean.
Oh, no.
But that was the biggest of the last 30 years.
Oh, my goodness.
5 weeks of having it. And we're living on the sea. So we saw the harbor, the sailing boats, like moving, some sails broken, waves of 4 or 5 meters. So we thought like, geez, so that's a joke. It didn't happen in 30 years. We placed 2,000 bottles of wine and it's happening right now.
Oh, no.
And I said, Geri, I'm going to take the kayak and I'm going to go there. Of course, I couldn't. No? 4 or 5 days later, we went diving. And of course, because of the thunderstorm, visibility was like half meters. So we couldn't see each other.
First, on our way to the harbor, we were looking at the beach, expecting to see stranded bottles or people picking up wine bottles from the beach.
Yeah, treasure for them, right?
Exactly.
And then we went diving, and we have a boy that is signalizing the place.
Right.
And with the sand, we were on the floor, and I couldn't see the cage. So I started crying, like, okay, it's gone. And then Geri,
I basically just hit my head into one of the cages because, like Mariona said, the visibility was around less than half a meter. Right. So we even lost each other in searching the cages because, yes, the buoy line led us down to the anchor point. And then from the anchor, it was about 4 or 5 meters of swim in one direction or the other. Even following the compass, we couldn't locate these wine cages for a good 5-10 minutes.
Oh, wow.
But we find them, we crashed directly on them.
Just before giving up. Yeah.
And they were perfect. Nothing broken.
Wow.
Just a little bit of sand, but they were perfect.
Wow. Funny now, but definitely like worrisome when you were experiencing it. But what an amazing thing that even through all that thunderstorm situation that your bottles were safe underwater, which is a true testament to what you're doing at Elix Sea Underwater Winery. Tell us how people can find you and contact you so that they can arrange to buy or to have an experience with you.
I think the easiest way to find us is through our website, which is winesunderwater.com.
Okay.
And we also present on Facebook and Instagram, and that's ElixSea Wines. Basically, ElixSea, the name comes from the elixir of the sea, and we just put these two things together. So this is how ElixSea was born. But also you can find these links to our social media from our website at winesunderwater.com.
That's amazing. And I'll include that information in the show notes. So I just wanted to thank both of you for being here today and, telling us all about how your background, your Hungarian heritage, Geri, Mariona, your environmental and biodiversity background came together and became Elix Sea and created this amazing underwater winery. I appreciate that you were here today, and thanks so much for being here.
Thank you very much
for the opportunity.
Oh, of course. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining me today on this episode of the Hungarian Heritage Podcast. Don't forget to check the show notes for information about this episode and how you can connect with Geri and Mariona at the Elix Sea Underwater Winery on all of their social media platforms. If you're looking to make a unique purchase or you're looking to have a unique experience, I think you're going to find it with Geri and Mariona at Elix Sea Underwater Winery. Thanks to my audio editor, Tori Irvin, for working her audio magic on this episode. Our theme music is Hungarian Dance by Pony Music, used with a special license from Enviromental Market. Thanks again for listening, and don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts so we can continue to connect our modern lives with our Hungarian heritage. Until next time, goodbye everyone. Sziasztok mindenkinek!